The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida. Welcome to this very special episode, this bonus content that we have here on the Florida Podcast Network, because we are here to introduce, Glenn and I are introducing Beach Talk Radio and welcoming it onto the network. Welcome, Beach Talk Radio. Ed and Kim, Ryan. Hello, guys. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are good.
I have a question for you. Is that you changed your voice there? Like before we were talking, you were talking like in a regular voice. And then as soon as you start the promo, you went into your radio voice.
Radio voice. You know, well, there's all this sexy can't be on all the time, Ed. I have to dial it back for normal conversations. Yeah. So you guys are out of Fort Myers, and tell us about your show and what people can expect when they tune in to listen.
Marriage therapy is what they can expect.
No.
That's right.
They will hear lots of comedy, according to some people, some satire.
Do people
I will
laugh at you or
beat
with
him
you?
with my shoe.
Yes, she's gotten physical with me.
You guys do it a little bit differently than most podcasts because you do it live right on the beach. So that's kind of cool.
Yes, it's very spontaneous. It's a contact sport sometimes.
Yes, and we set up right in Times Square on Fort Myers Beach, so everybody that's walking by for breakfast can see the show, and it's like show business. It's like the way radio used to be in the old days. You set up a big remote setup with signage and coffee cups and T-shirts and bumper stickers, and then you try and harass the people walking by and see if they'll do a trivia contest and be on the show with you. So that's what we do every Saturday. Well,
and the show also features issues that are facing Fort Myers Beach, which are issues that face a lot of communities. We interview different businesses and we talk about different events that are going on in the community, lots of free stuff and a lot of societal issues, which we're going to be tackling.
Why are you getting so deep already? You know, we're talking about politics, try and mock the politician.
We're going to cure all the community ills.
When she starts using the big words on the show, that's when I start to order the beer.
I've loved your show. So, you know, when you guys first reached out and I started taking a look, it was really impressive that you guys actually do your show every Saturday live, you know. So Glenn was the only insane podcaster I knew who did a live show, and you guys are right there with him. What made you guys decide you wanted to do a live show? Why was that feel important to you?
No editing involved. That was the big thing. You don't have to edit anything. No, it was the show business thing too. It was a great spot. And then when we did the first couple of shows, the owner of the restaurant decided that he saw the attraction that we were bringing to his place, and he considers us entertainers there now too. So that's nice little bonus on top of things. You can always come up with stuff when you're sitting out live on the beach and people are walking by and it looks like show business to those folks.
You have the nicest studio of anybody I know.
No. I beg to differ, Glenn. I was swimming with manatees the other day for our show.
Oh, that's true. We have a nice studio too. Yes, we do.
That is nice.
With a microphone.
With a microphone, yep.
It was pretty exciting. We got some good commentary from the manatees themselves. It was very cool. Very cool. But
I hear they're quite quiet individuals.
They are. Not much to say. But what is it about Fort Myers Beach that makes it so special? Why do people love visiting there? What is unique about Fort Myers?
The red tide. People love the red tide.
Okay, that will require editing right there. It has a very small hometown feel to it. I think it's beaches. It's close to other beaches. There's Sanibel. It's affordable. It's friendly. They have beautiful views, especially in the evening.
You can walk up and down the sidewalks, drink beer without getting in trouble. I mean, get to the important stuff now.
You can do yoga on the beach.
I always thought of Fort Myers as strictly a retirement haven. Is that not true?
It's definitely changed over the course of time. I mean, it's not as metropolitan as the other coast, but it definitely, there's a much younger vibe here. There's more businesses. I mean, the growth that has gone on over here just in the time that we've been here is huge. And
then you guys talk a lot about that on your show. You know, you guys talk about local council members and you guys talk to business owners. And I mean, it's really, you guys are so embedded in your local community. It's very impressive. I mean, clearly you guys are just great representatives for your town. And I'm so excited that your show is now part of the network. And so people are going to get a chance to listen as a teaser to this episode 34. So tell us a little bit about what they can expect in this episode.
Well, Tom Torgeson is he's the biggest developer on the island, and he is building a new hotel called Margaritaville. You might have heard of that before. And originally it was gigantic. It was a castle, and the community hated it, and they were there was protests against
vehemently opposed.
Yeah, and he kind of he scaled it down big time over 3 years, and he bent over backwards, and he gave the town some of his land just to make everybody happy, and so. Now there's a lawsuit filed against the city for approving the plan from another hotel owner. So it's just a tangled web that we love because there's so many people involved and they hate each other and there's politics involved. And then the two council members got caught in a bar talking to each other, which violates the sunshine laws. And that was great. That was better than the red tide.
Well,
so
and they
kept going on and on and on. What?
They were talking with the person who brought the lawsuit.
That's
against
right.
the town.
That's right. They're saying we're on your side now. We're on your side now after they approved the project. So Tom decided he had enough. He walked down from his house and he said, I want to be on the show. And he was on the show. And I was in awe of him.
Fort Myers turns.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
You love this stuff too. I've watched the show a couple times. You guys get so into this. It's so cute. Which one of you is going to be mayor next, by the way?
Oh, it'll be
We don't
him.
live on the beach, so we can't. Which they don't like either.
The people in our community, we live in a little community called Gateway, and people refer to him as the mayor of Gateway because he's always got to have his nose in everything.
But that's perfect for a host.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Exactly, Glenn.
Super annoying and doesn't stop asking questions.
That's right. That's a perfect host right there.
Well, you guys are awesome additions to the network. You guys are going to have a great, successful show. So Beach Talk Radio, tell people where they can find more episodes aside from just on the Florida Podcast Network now.
Well, as Glenn taught me back when I was a little kid, you were supposed to have your podcasts on everywhere possible. So it's on Spotify, it's on iHeartRadio, it's on our website, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spreaker, of course, that's our host, and it's on Pocket Casts. And if I left Pandora out, it's because they wouldn't approve me yet. So it's on pretty much everywhere you can listen to a podcast right now. Even on Alexa, play Beach Talk Radio on Higher Radio.
There you go. There you go. And with that, all the Alexas are going to churn, and we're going to listen to this next episode.
Welcome to Beach Talk Radio, everybody. We have battled the road construction, the red tide, and the constant stupidity of your local government. And here we are on the beach for episode number 29 of Beach Talk Radio. Dear, it's so nice to have you back on the show and fully functional as a walking human being.
Well, yes, because there's so much walking involved in this sitting position.
Yes. No more cane, no more crutches.
No, just very little, tiny little limp. That's it.
Very nice. We have an action-packed show for you today, folks. Debbie Vorhees is here. Jay Light is here. We have a special guest that we're adding to the end of the show, and we're not going to tell you who it is because we want you to watch and listen. So how can you listen? You can listen to us on the Beach Talk Radio app. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, on Spotify. You can listen to us on Spreaker. And you can listen to us on the Apple Podcast app. So much to talk about because when the council meets here on Fort Myers Beach, they just leave news for us to talk about. I want to give a big shout out to Anita Saracita because once again at the council meeting this week, she was treated like crap by the mayor, who totally has no respect for her for all the time that she puts in, and she demeans her during the meeting. And I just wanted to say we love you, Anita, and we love everything you do. So thank you for all of your hard work.
A little heart sign now?
No, I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to make sure I said that. And there's a lot of stuff coming up, including the news that we're going to be mediating or moderating the Women's Club Candidates Forum that's going to be held on Monday night, February the 11th, and that's going to be exciting.
Serious, though. No funny business.
That's right. That's not one of those things where you joke around.
Nope.
And you do stuff that we do here to, I don't know why we do funny stuff or jokey stuff here.
Well, we're attempting to be entertaining.
That's right. We're attempting to be entertaining here at Peach Time Out, by the way. We want to thank John and Debbie for inviting us down for yet another week. I'm just waiting for that Monday morning call where John says, I've had enough. It's time for you to go home. I mean, you can bring the wife and leave her there, but it's I've had enough of you.
Get off the beach. You're not really residents.
Yeah. So thanks to John and Debbie Lalo, and we appreciate that. And there's other news coming up that we're going to tell you about in our last 10 minutes. But
and we want to do a shout out because a very dear friend of ours had a big birthday yesterday.
Oh, he did? Oh, that's right. I forgot all about him.
You did
Mean
not.
Gene's 82nd birthday yesterday. He had a party and didn't invite me, by the way. Nobody invited me.
Well, we are so glad that you did.
You're going to outlive all of us, Gene.
Excited to celebrate that with you today.
He got some nice gifts, and as a matter of fact, I have a gift for him inside that we're going to give to him before he leaves. Yes, from us.
All right. Don't leave me out of this gift giving.
All right, so what do you have going on today? Oh, wait, by the way, folks, check it out. Go ahead. Talk it up, dear. Talk it up.
So I have to say, you did a really good job with these hats. The colors, both colors, I love. And the design as well. And now you better get out and sell some of them.
Right. They're $15 a hat, yeah, and we're willing to barter. I mean, we'll barter things, right?
$15 is a pretty good price.
$18 a hat, everybody. Just come on down. They're right here on the counter. $18. Can I hear 20? No, well, $15.
We can do that as an auction.
$15. We might trade some pretzels for him.
Well,
with Karen.
or they could auction them off at some of the events we're going to be talking about.
We have lots of events, right? By the way, Jay Light. I mentioned his name. I don't think you can read his unless it's posted somewhere. We'll talk about what happened was that the ludicrous advertorial that was put in the Observer. From the guy at the Lani Kai, Jim Conadieris. We're going to be talking about that later, about how they took pot shots at Tom and TPI and all that. We'll talk about that later in the hour.
A long-winded
sentence? Left out some periods?
No, the advertorial.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you couldn't tell if it was editorial, advertorial. It made it look like the newspaper endorsed it, but anyway.
No, he signed it at the end, but
he did?
Yeah.
Does he live in this town like Tom does?
I think he is.
Is he a full-time resident in this town? You sure about that? Like, is he here? Is he a voting member of this town?
I think he is.
By the way, folks, the election is coming up in March. It's going to be one of the most important elections of your life. So get out, not only vote, but you need to get out and help these folks. You need to work for these people, these candidates that we have. I'll bet you $1 that there's going to be another candidate that other side throws in. So you need to get out. Yeah.
That's not a very...
Well, I got to sell the hats. If I didn't have to sell the hats, it'd be more than $1. So you need to get out and work for these people, these three candidates, who we love, all three candidates, by the way, right? Who are you going to vote for? I know, we can't vote. Anyway, so we'll get to that later in the hour. Debbie Vorhees is here, and she's got lots to talk about. So we're going to let her jump on in and you keep things rolling because you're so good at it.
That we're going to have Debbie. She's going to talk about the Fort Myers Beach Women's Club and the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation. And welcome, Miss Debbie. Thank you for coming on down.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, good. So what would you like to start with? I'm going to let you choose the order.
I'd like to start with the event that we had last night, which is the birthday party at the Women's Club. We were celebrating the 55th birthday of the Women's Club building on its site on Sterling Avenue here in Fort Myers Beach. And a lot of people don't realize that was the original schoolhouse on the island.
How old is that built, like, originally?
I believe it's from the 1920s. I don't know exactly what year, but it is the original schoolhouse, and I want to say like 1927.
Wow.
But when you're inside of it, you can see that history in the old floors, and I just found out recently when we were putting together a plan for the Capitol campaign that I'll talk about in a few minutes, that there's behind the bookcase there's a adorable little stage where they did their performances, which we're going to be restoring.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that you're going to retain some of the historical part of the building as you're getting ready to restructure it, right?
We are. 2 years ago, the women's club had dwindled in membership to a lot of older women in town, and several of the women that are younger and community-minded decided that they wanted to join the club and help them rebuild the building and gave it vision for the 21st century. So that's what we're going to be starting. We kicked it off last night, and we're going to be starting to put together material so we can tell the community about our plans and ask for everyone's help.
And at last night's event, how was the turnout?
It was good. There was about 50 people. We're building our turnout with every event that we have. This was mostly a members event, and then we asked the public to come as well, but it was mostly our members. It was a birthday party, and it was exciting. I took everyone on tours, and we talked about vaulting the ceilings to the original height and the stage, and a lot of people are excited about our vision.
And there was cake. How was the cake?
The cake was amazing. And Rosanna, who was the chair of our event, got an amazing cake with high heels on it and pink ribbons, and It really reflected the women's club, and it was delicious.
And now, to be clear, though, the women's club is not just for women, correct?
Correct. We do have a few male members, and we're open to anyone to join. It's really more about community than about women.
About gender. It's more about the community. Yeah.
Exactly. And also the Women's Club, we've started a new organization that we're umbrellaing, which is called the Alliance of Nonprofits.
Okay.
Where we've started a community calendar, and we also have meetings with, and we're starting to do events, awareness and fundraising events with most of the nonprofits on the island.
Nice. Now, for the improvements to the building, you mentioned the ceiling being raised, and they're going to retain the stage. What other improvements are planned for the area?
Well, we're going to open it up, and we're going to refinish the floors, refinish the walls. We want to put in a new catering kitchen so that we can be more of an event facility that the community can use for weddings and other events. We're also going to rework our bathrooms and bring both of them to the front of the building because we want to start having more outdoor events. And we're also going to make everything ADA accessible and bring everything up to current code.
Now, I was reading also that the outside, the landscaping is going to get some redo.
Oh, yes. We have a beautiful landscape plan that's been donated to us.
Nice.
And that will be in phase 2 of our capital improvement project. And in that plan, we hope to utilize the lot next door and make it a beautiful garden and hopefully host outdoor events, performances, and musical events and things like that. That way, the south side of the community will have options for things they can do.
And with the putting in of the native plants, I was reading, is there some matching funds that the town will also provide for using the native plants? Is that still a program that's in effect?
Well, I'm going to be looking into that. That's what I do for a living, and that's how I had originally gotten involved with the Women's Club, as I am a grant writer and a fundraiser. So I'm looking at federal, state, and local grant opportunities to help us with our efforts to raise money.
And what are some of the other fundraisers that are going to be occurring?
Well, last night at our birthday party, Joanne Champ painted an amazing vision of our building because she's a member of the Women's Club.
Nice.
And she's also our vice mayor. And she donated to the organization numbered prints, limited edition prints, which she signed last night. And we raised almost $2,000 for the campaign last night with her generous donation. Yes, we're very thankful to her.
I also was reading something about bricks. You can buy a commemorative brick to go into either outside.
Yes, it's going to be outside. We're going to have.
Sometimes my questions catch people off guard. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I do a lot of research, and sometimes it's too much or not exactly correct.
Yeah.
So,
well, we are going to be doing bricks outside on the east side of the building.
Okay.
There's going to be a Zen meditation garden, the
Love that.
architect's calling it. And
that.
when you're getting your mojo on in the Zen garden.
or getting rid of all your bad
bad
juju.
mojo. Yeah. When you're over there meditating and getting rid of your bad juju,
Yes.
you can look at the bricks of the people that have
and so
donated
people
bricks.
can buy the bricks, have their name or in memory of or in honor of.
Exactly. Dawn Ferguson, who's now Thomas, she just got married last week.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. She is the co-chair of the Capital Campaign with me, so we're going to be working out the details of bricks and naming rights and other events that we're going to be doing. We're going to be nailing down all of those details and putting together a plan in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So stay tuned, and we'll let everyone know how you can help us make the Women's Club an amazing facility.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to talk to us about? Maybe membership in the women's? How much is the membership?
$75
Okay.
for the membership. You can go to our website, which is fmb-wc.org.
Okay.
And we have links to membership there. We are about to have links to donate to our capital campaign. And also, we have a link to a community calendar, which we're doing for the Alliance of Nonprofits. So if you want to know any event that any nonprofit is doing on the island, you can go to our website and find it
Good.
there.
One-stop shopping.
Exactly. And
Now-
that's what we're trying to do.
Well, that is fantastic, and we wish you guys luck. You also are here to talk about the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Well, it's funny because the two are linked. When I first came to the island, my day job is with Friends of Lovers Key, and the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation had generously given us a donation last year. So I attended an event at the Women's Club. And originally, I thought the Community Foundation owned the Women's Club, and I was so enthusiastic about this amazing group of women in the Community Foundation and how hard they worked raising money that I thought I need to join these ladies.
Join them all.
So I joined that group, and then when I found out the Women's Club was a different group, I had to join them too.
You can't, right.
So what can
because
I-
they're all fantastic.
It is. And I'm a joiner and a doer. So I am also chair of their event, which is going to be on February 1st at
Yes.
the Diamond Head. It's
Okay.
at 6 p.m. The event's called Dancing We're the Stars. And it's loosely based on the television show Dancing with the Stars, in that we're going to dress in costumes for our favorite era of dance or our favorite dance. You could go as a jitterbug person or an 80s dancer.
Rock the 80s.
Rock the 80s. That's my generation.
Yeah, me
Your
too.
generation
Me too. Yep.
So,
The hair.
yeah, Disco Queen.
That's right.
Yeah. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do because I'm not sure if I can do the big hair anymore. So I haven't quite decided myself. But it's going to be at the Diamond Head on February the 1st.
Okay.
And we'll be raising money for our charitable causes, which are that we give money to beach charities such as Beach Baptist, the PTO, the Little League. We make donations every year to groups to help them with their efforts. And we also give scholarships
Yes.
to deserving beach children. The scholarships used to be merit-based, but we're going to be doing it a little differently this year because this is a very common thing that people are starting to talk about, is it's going to be more needs-based, and
Good.
we're going to include trade schools. So if someone
That's
wants
great.
to go into a trade instead of the traditional college path,
Yes.
we will help them with that.
I love that idea. That is fantastic. And how much are the tickets for that event?
Well, we've only got about 20 tickets left. So if you want
Wow.
tickets, you need to get them
You-
soon.
Yes.
The tickets are $100 a piece, and you can go to the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation website to find out how to get them. And Jan Fleming is in charge of that. And if you want to buy a table, it's $9.50, so that gives you a little break on the tickets.
And that's a table of 10.
A table of 10.
And what does that include? What do they get with
Well, you get dinner at the Diamond Head.
Nice.
Yeah, and from what I understand, their new restaurant is amazing.
I heard about that.
And you also get music by Frank Torino, who's been known on the island for a long time.
Great.
Music and entertainment, I should say. And then also we're having a reverse raffle.
Yeah, talk a little bit about how that works.
Well, a reverse raffle is an interesting thing because I never win anything.
No.
If there's something to win, I'm the last person picked.
This will be good for that, right?
Exactly. Because a reverse raffle, the last ticket in the bin is the winner.
Last ticket standing wins.
So if you're the type of person that never wins anything, this is your event.
And what are some of the things that they'll be winning with the raffle?
Well, we have the reverse raffle, and the prize at the end of the night for the winner who's the last one standing, is $2,500. So you can have dinner, you can dance, you can enjoy your friends, and walk home with some serious money.
Or you could, hey, $2,500, I'm dancing home.
Yeah, there you go.
Dancing it out.
Absolutely. I would be too.
And what are some of the other things that'll be going on that wonderful evening?
Well, we're going to have a live auction as well. The Diamond Head has generously donated a 2-night stay. We've got several boating excursions. Sea Racers is doing one. Joanne Champ has generously donated to us as well, another original piece of art. And there's a dinner with the firemen at the firehouse. You can bid on in a live auction.
That would be cool.
I think that's really cool.
I think that would be cool, and I bet there's some kids that would be so over the moon to be able to go to the firehouse.
I think so. Yeah. And it's a dinner for 6 people, and they'll visit with you and make you dinner and make you feel like.
And I hear they make some mean chili at the firehouse.
They really do. I hear it's award-winning.
I hear it is. I know it's better than what we were producing. So that is February 1st. 6 to 10 at the Diamond Head Resort. And where can they get the tickets again?
They can go to the Women's Club website, Fort Myers Beach Women's Club, Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation.
Yep.
I forgot which hat I was wearing.
It's all right. We'll turn it around.
Yeah, the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation website, or you can call Jan Fleming. And there's posters all over town as well. Okay. Anywhere you go, look for the purple poster.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of that information.
You're
we
welcome.
got through it quickly. You covered 2 wonderful events and 2 wonderful organizations.
Well, thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you back again soon to talk about the Friends of Lovers Key.
I would love to do that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Big
folks,
hand
make
for
sure
Debbie.
that you get out there and
Very
get your
nice.
tickets. For
All right. That was great, dear. You did a
for
lovely
the dinner
job.
and dance. I'm still going, and you're talking over me. For the dinner and dancing event, I think we should go to the dance, and we can do the 80s. We can dress up as
an 80s dance.
You can pick any era. You could go in the 50s dance. You could go as a flapper.
What's a flapper?
That's from the 20s. Good Lord, I did not.
So listen, I did want to mention a couple of quick things.
You did or didn't?
I did.
Oh, okay.
About the audio only shows that we did. We did 2 audio only shows. The first one really has gotten a lot of listens.
It's
and that was
pretty interesting.
Check this out: the road construction that we did with the folks from. I feel like I've been talking about this for 2 weeks, but people keep listening to it. And what made it even more interesting was at the council meeting on Thursday, town manager Roger Hernstadt looked at the council and he said, "There's no way the county is going to be done with the road by 2021, like they said they were." So right away, I sent an email to the county and I said, "Roger just said you're not going to finish the roads by 2021." And they said to me, "Oh, yes, we are going to finish our part of the road by 2021.
Well, their
It's
part.
so interesting watching people blame each other for the road construction down there.
Wow.
And when you listen to the folks from Christel Construction, you can tell how complicated it is.
Yeah.
The different agencies. The
I think
town's
there's
got to
10 different groups that have to be organized in a sequential manner for this to get done in the most expeditious amount of time.
Right, in such a small area, too. And yesterday,
tiny.
we posted an interview with Cecil Pendergrass, Lee County Commissioner, who lives in Gateway, by the way. He's been a lifelong resident. He worked for the police department for 25 years. And we talked about the road construction. We talked about, but mostly the water quality. So if you didn't listen to the show, you should listen to it because we really spent the majority of the time on the water quality. instead of what we thought was going to be a long discussion about the bridge. The bridge is a done deal. You're getting a 60-foot bridge. It's going to save millions and millions of dollars, and Ray Murphy's going to have to find somewhere else to go fishing because there will not be a possibility to fish off a 60-foot bridge.
And you're going to have somebody that you're going to be interviewing soon about the water quality.
Well, yesterday I went to Starbucks in Coconut Point. I interviewed Dr. Bill.
Okay.
Mitch, I think I have to make sure I say his name right. We spoke about the fact that the governor fired everybody from Southwest Florida Management, wherever the water district. It was hilarious.
He asked for their resignation.
I think that's pretty much like saying you're out of a job. So anyway, all of that.
I guess they could say no.
Could they say no? I guess you could fire him after that. Anyway,
4 did go.
See,
wow. 4
so
digging their heels in.
All right, dear, you need to take a break. Thank you so much for your part of the show.
I'm out.
Right now, we're going to talk to Jay Light. Jay is a longtime resident of Fort Myers Beach. He is a veteran, by the way, and we're going to start by talking about his service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it very much. Welcome to Beach Talk Radio. You are in the spotlight now, my friend.
My
Probably never heard of us before or what the hell's going on here. But
That's exactly right. That's okay. I'm learning quickly.
So tell us first about your service. What'd you do?
Let's go back a little before that. My real life was as a professional musician.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
Classical oboe player and university professor. As far as my service goes, my very first playing job full-time in a symphony orchestra was in Quebec, Canada, l'Orchestre Symphonique de Quebec. And I was up there from 1964 to 66. And that was during the Vietnam business. And at that time, so I was in Canada long before it was fashionable to run to Canada to avoid the draft. When I went up, the deal on the draft was if you were married, you were exempt. And then in 65, during the escalation, suddenly if you were married and didn't have kids, you were no longer exempt. So I was on the top of the list. Rather than stay there, I decided, not out of any great patriotism or support of the war, just practical reasons, made sense to come back because that's where all the good playing jobs were going to be, in symphony orchestras and universities. So the Army was offering a deal then that if you went for 3 years instead of 2, they guaranteed you any training that you had qualified for. And I didn't want to play the oboe in an Army band for a variety of reasons, but I'd had some broadcast experience both in high school in South Jersey, where I was raised, and at the classical music station in Philadelphia, where I studied. And so I decided to go that route and took the broadcast training. I spent 8 months after that in Alabama writing for a Post newspaper, and then was sent to the Panama Canal Zone. And having heard your intro of Good Morning Here, if you've ever seen the Good Morning Vietnam, the Robin Williams movie, I was at the Panama Canal Zone equivalent of that, and my job was as the local news anchor. So at that point, a lot of the job consisted of trying to make the doings of the Officers' Wives Club sound like news, but there were some real serious news stories down there that we covered.
Were you allowed to cover it in a way that you could get the news out to the American public, or was it censored?
My best story about that is the last one I covered for local news was in fact the inauguration of a newly elected president down there, and I had one of the Spanish guys in the newsroom actually got his inaugural speech and translated it for me, and I sat backstage as he pointed to the script following as if I was giving an instant translation. And then 10 days later, the National Guard took over, staged the coup. This would have been 68, 69, and took over the country. And at that point, we were not permitted to cover the story ourselves live. It was happening like 2 miles down the road, but we started out each news report with, according to reports from United Press International. We were taking stuff off the teletype. And I would write the story mid-afternoon or so, and it went from me to the lieutenant in the newsroom to the colonel in the Unified Command Public Affairs Office to the USIA agent in the embassy, because the reality was that our government really wasn't sure which side they wanted to be on in the early days of that thing. And then it would come back down through the channels. By the time I read that at the 6 o'clock news, there wasn't one word of what I had written that was actually in the story.
So, Jay, do you feel like the Vietnam veterans are getting the love they deserve finally?
I do. I haven't made a big deal about that.
None of them do.
It was an
None of them
important
do.
part of my life. Certainly when I got out, nobody thanked me for my service. I'm appreciating the fact that right now, I can go to the Fort Myers Miracle Games free, and I'm getting some discounts and fun and things, and that's certainly nice. It has some meaning. I haven't made a big deal. I know you'd ask me about that, about veterans' participation or anything. I did go. They had that big pinning ceremony about a month ago.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Blue Park,
Yeah,
and,
it was massive.
I did that and got the little pin, and it was great.
How emotional was that for people there? It was well attended.
I served honorably. I went where they sent me and did what they assigned me to do, but I certainly never saw combat, and I can certainly understand. I met an awful lot of people who did, and I understand their anxiety and their emotions about it. So,
by the way, you get a military discount here, just so you know. Don't forget to ask for it.
Glad to hear that.
All right. Now, are you involved in any way, veterans now?
No, not really.
Okay. Don't stay in touch with locals or?
Oh, just a couple of people that were in the outfit at the TV station in Panama.
All right, so let's turn to local events.
Sure.
As you know, sooner or later, there's going to be a big, giant Margaritaville over there, and there's a good possibility that we might be doing our show there once in a while. We know some people. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if anybody that's been following the local press, I do a good deal of contributing as guest opinions to both of the local papers. I believe, we're at a point where our civilization is drowning in a tsunami of bullshit, and I can't do anything about that nationally, but I think sometimes I can locally. As far as the Margaritaville project was concerned, if you followed what I had written since it first came out, I was one of its most vocal opponents. I thought the original plan was way overboard and much more than the town wanted or needed. And once it became clear to Tom Torgeson that wasn't going to go, he had the foresight to put together a focus group of some of his most vocal critics, including myself. And essentially,
I didn't know that. I wonder how many people did know that.
Well, if the ones that were here for a long time did. The group met, I think, for about 8 or 9 months. You can ask Tom. And the essence of the group was, all right, what do I have to do to make this acceptable that you think? Obviously, we didn't get to vote on whether or not he did it. It was 3 votes on the town council.
Right.
And I think by the time he came up with, I guess it was either plan C or D by then.
3 years later.
He kept downsizing it and everything. I think 6 of the 8 people on that focus group were ready to and did endorse the project. I think it's way past time, and I know you want to talk a little about the lawsuit and everything, which I think is some of the local BS that I'm trying to do away with. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's costing the town a huge amount of money, probably into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for legal fees, staff time wasted messing around with this, not to mention lost revenue in taxes that aren't being paid because the project has been delayed.
So what did you think of the 2 town council members meeting and talking about that? I'm sure you heard it. I'm sure you read it.
Oh, yeah, and have written about it. It's a scandal. It's very disappointing. I think they betrayed their oath of office. I think they basically sold the town out. At that point, I think if Ms. Gore really didn't want the project to go through. She should have had the guts to just say, I vote no.
Right.
I think what happened was when it became clear that there were going to be 3 votes in favor, they decided it was better to join them if you can't beat them. And then they had regret about it. I think she got some blowback over it and wanted desperately to change her mind and couldn't. But the idea that they're supporting this, what I'm calling the Patton/Conaderis lawsuit, is scandalous. I think they should have resigned. And frankly, I'm disappointed in the remaining 3 members of the council that they haven't done anything to sanction them. I understand that it takes 3 votes of the remaining 3 to do it. And they're apparently not there.
I've watched some of the meetings. I think Anita has tried, but they pretty much step on her every time she tries to do something.
I understand
that. It's so disrespectful what they do to her at those meetings.
I understand.
Not all of them, but
I
from
agree.
time to time, it's just it makes you cringe to watch what when you're watching it on TV. How she gets treated. It's so disrespectful for somebody. But that's a whole different subject.
Well,
so. If you let's talk about what we saw in the Observer last week. We saw a full page. I don't know if clearly it was written by them, but it looked like an editorial kind of thing where it was almost endorsed. Coming from the news side of things, it almost looks like it's endorsed by the paper because it doesn't say. I don't believe it said advertorial on the top. I could be wrong.
It did not. No, you're not wrong. It did not say that. And I had a discussion with the editor of the Observer about that and pointed that out. And she said that in future publications, they're going to put that on.
Talk about bullshit.
Well, yeah, that's bullshit. Well, we'll see if they do or if they don't. This last week.
Is that the first day they actually printed the paper? So they didn't really know? Is that their first day to put the paper out?
They've run probably a half a dozen or more of these.
Well, I'm being sarcastic, but I'm just saying next time they're going to do it as if this is the first time these reporters and editors ever come across something like that.
I don't know. Talk to them about it.
The thing that really got under my skin was the fact that if he wrote it or his PR people wrote it, said that it's time to stop talking and start building.
Yeah.
Well, if he's backing the lawsuit that the patents are behind, then stop the lawsuit and we'll go dig the ground over there. We'll go have a show right over there with some golden shovels.
That's the essence of hypocrisy. The idea. A piece that I wrote, the one that didn't get published, talked about the term chutzpah, which is the classic example of that is the young man who murders his parents and then throws himself on the court begging for mercy because he's an orphan. And this is exactly the same idea that this guy, he's the one that's causing the hang up and he has the gall, the chutzpah, to write an editorial or whoever writes it, slamming Torgeson for not building when he's the one that's hanging it up. So this is about as stupid as it can get.
So you decided you were going to, I don't know, it was a letter to the editor or some kind of rebuttal to that, and they didn't want to publish it.
Well, neither paper published it.
Although I understand the Island Sandpaper not wanting to publish something that was published in a different paper, so exactly. I totally get that. But what was the Observer's reason?
You'll have to ask them.
Well, they tell you.
They hedged on it, more interestingly, I had a piece in yesterday's Sandpaper that I also sent to the Observer, and they didn't publish that one either.
The Sandpaper did, the Observer didn't.
Did, the Observer didn't. Now, look, I've had a good relationship with both of the papers. I send them a lot of stuff. I would say they print probably 95% of what I send them. And, they have their own reasons, their own policies, and they are what they are, and journalism is what it is here, and that's the way it is.
So what did you talk about what you wrote that did get published? Like, what was your point?
What was in yesterday's, and you can read it in the Sandpaper, was that it was sort of a questionnaire for candidates that are running. As you know, we have 3 candidates that have announced, 2 and others that may or may not announce. They've got till next Friday to file their papers. And these were questions about, they were sort of hypothetical, scenarios of, let's suppose somebody didn't like something that the council did and decided to sue the town, as we know, and the town wins because it's a ridiculous lawsuit, what do you think the town should do about recouping all the money that was lost about that?
Yeah.
And a couple of the other scenarios dealt with how would you deal with these council members who have essentially sold the town out in offering support and encouragement to this woman or Conaderas suing the town. And, that's in the sandpaper. Anybody that wants to can read that.
Okay, that's in Friday's sandpaper. So
Yes.
so we'll check that out. So let's talk about the election. This is important for the people on the beach to realize they have to get involved in this election. I mean, it's one of the biggest elections.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it in a small community. Sometimes you get complacent because you have people in there you trust and people, they have lives, they have jobs, they're doing their thing. But this is important that people not only, go and vote, but they need to get involved and help these candidates out. Now,
Absolutely.
We have 3 candidates now who, if I was living on the island, I'd have a hard time going in and figuring out which 2 out of the 3 because I love them all. And the thing is that is a good likelihood that there's going to be more than 3. That somebody that's
I think that's true. Let's not beat around the elephant in the room. The question is whether or not Bobak and Gore are going to run. If they do, they'll probably wait till the last minute to file.
Sure.
And as I said in some of my writing about that, well, if the state didn't find that they had, under the narrowest technicality, that they didn't in fact break the law, although that was an interpretation that was against everything I've ever heard about the Sunshine
It made no
Laws.
sense to me.
Sooner or later, the court of public opinion, and that's
You would hope.
election,
You would
is
hope.
going to come up. So the question is it better that they just decide not to run, or is it better that they run and would hopefully get soundly defeated, and then the public, the voters will get their chance to make this decision. As far as I'm concerned, what they did amounted to betrayal. It was unethical, and they should not be on the council.
So, a couple of quick questions. Do you think one of the 2 or possibly both will run?
I have no idea.
If you were to take a guess, would you say yes or no?
I would say that judging from the very self-congratulatory
Yes, I read
piece
it.
that was in the Observer this week from Tracy Gore, that I would say she certainly sounds like she's planning to run. And
Setting the
fine,
stage.
she has a right to do that, and the voters will have a right to say, we've had enough of you. The reality of that is if she and or Bobak would be reelected, then obviously all this that's happened doesn't matter enough to our voters, and we're going to end up with the government that we deserve.
See, I think that piece that I read, which I think was also in the Observer, right? I don't remember where it was that Tracy wrote.
Well, it was only in the Observer.
Yeah, clearly you can see which side that paper's taking.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that I thought was interesting about that is that she repeatedly says, let's be nicer to people. Let's be nicer to people. Oh, sometimes people are mean. And yet the way she lit into Anita yesterday, that's what you folks need to do. You voters need to do. Yeah. Read that piece that she wrote and then go watch that video yesterday or Thursday, whenever the meeting was, when she lit into Anita like that, and it's ridiculous the way she treats her at some of those meetings. It's so disrespectful for somebody that's put in so much time.
Yeah, you're.
I know I'm on a soapbox about the Anita thing, but it really got under my skin.
I like Anita very much. She's certainly a friend, and she's done a great deal of good for the town. I think I'm disappointed more than anything else in Tracy. You said something a little earlier about how important this election is. The reality was that 3 years ago, both Tracy and Dennis Bobak were elected because of their unwavering opposition to the original TPI project. And, they've had it. He's come up with a usable and doable proposal. And now it's time for the voters of the town to say, okay, enough of the opposition. Let's let the project go on. And that's kind of where we are. I was hoping when she was elected that she'd grow into it, mature, and start to understand that there's a difference between what her previous role had been, that of sort of tossing hand grenades in for a variety of subjects. And I understand that because I've done a certain amount of it myself. And from the outside, and then that she would make the transition once she was on the inside to showing a little more maturity, a little more restraint, and more than anything else between the two of them, a little more forethought into what some of these shoot-from-the-hip decisions that they've made into where is this really likely to lead us. The first time Dennis Boback was on the town council, they fired a perfectly good town manager on their very first meeting. This time, he and Tracy Summer at that point, it took them 4 months to fire another perfectly good town manager, each with their own agenda. And I think they've done the town a great deal of harm. We've had this constant revolving door of managers, attorneys, planners, and all this other
I want
stuff.
to tell you something.
There's no corporate knowledge, no corporate memory of any of this.
I was in a business yesterday. I'm not going to say the name of the business, but I was interviewing the business for something, and one of the things that he had to bite his tongue on, and I totally got it, was he's constantly harassed by the local government, and you would think that wouldn't be the case, but I get that feeling from this government that they're so against the businesses being successful, or if the businesses are successful, they got to get their cut, and if their cut isn't good enough, they're coming back for a bigger cut. And it's such BS that they have to be like that.
Yeah.
The parking thing, the parking rates, the going after the Times Square people, and listening to what he told me yesterday was we're going to reach into your pocket as deep as we can and pull out as much as we can, because if you're successful, then we want more of it.
I'm aware of some business people here in town who are basically biting their tongues from saying anything about the whole mess, the whole scandal about whether or not Gord Boback should be on the council, because they're scared to death that if they were to open their mouths, suddenly all kinds of unpleasant things might happen to them and their businesses. And that's not the way this is supposed to be. The reality of this is what's happening here is, in fact, a perfect microcosm of what's happening nationally.
Sure. Yeah.
It's the same BS that's coming out of Washington. Right. It's the same total lack of willingness to accept responsibility, willingness to, admit your mistakes. In my profession, performing in public, when I screwed up, everybody knew, and there was no place to hide. These people don't seem to understand that, you make a mistake, admit it, take responsibility.
Own it. That's right.
And they're so delusional about this that I don't think they've even made a mistake. And once again, I'll go back to the idea that, okay, in March, the voters are going to have a chance to say,
that's right,
we think you made a mistake.
That's right. So the other thing I wanted to mention for folks that are listening or watching, when you go back, please go back and watch that council meeting on Thursday and watch the amount of useful information Dennis Boback provides in any council meeting. There'll be a repeat it's a repeat of the same thing. He is providing useless information. He doesn't bring up anything worth talking about. He's a yes person to Tracy, as far as I can see from the meetings that I watch.
Well, I would say that because of the difference in their experiences, when they both were elected to the council, Tracy was a yes person for Dennis. Of course, he was mayor then and she wasn't. I'm not going to start talking about collusion. We've already talked about sunshine violations. I think, without knowing the statistics, I would suspect that the number of times they voted together is many. And that third swing vote, wherever it comes from, this council's recently, anytime anybody gets into a situation where they are given responsibility or authority, the first thing they want to do is impose their will on it. And I think people get on the council and say, well, we got to make more rules and more laws. And this council has gone out of its way more than others to tell people what they can't do. And I'd much prefer to see people on the council that are ready to tell people what they can do.
Well, Jay, anything else you want to mention before I let you run?
No.
That was enjoyable. You're awesome, man. You got to come back. We got to maybe we'll do our own show, me and you.
We can talk
politics. Talk politics. My wife isn't into the politics thing. She doesn't like to talk about it as much. She thinks I go overboard.
Okay.
Sometimes I do, but when I watch those council meetings, I just want to punch the screen sometimes when I listen to some of it.
Years ago, during the advent of what was then called the Three Angry Men, I wrote a piece about that where I stopped going to the council meetings and started watching them on TV because I could stand up and shout and swear at the TV and throw things at them, where if I did that in the actual council meeting, I'd get arrested. So, I understand what you're saying.
Real quick, we asked Conor Dieras to be on the show, and his apparently Leon and him are good friends. So Leon asked him for me, and the first answer I got was, would you do it at the Lani Kai? I said, for sure, we'll do it at the Lani Kai. Sure. Well, apparently they hadn't heard of the show or anything. Well, they went back and saw one of the old shows in January, and they said, "Oh no, we don't want an antagonizer." I'm an antagonizer. I didn't file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I want to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention was this is how peculiar this election can be, because if you go out and vote and you're voting for the 2 out of the 3 that are already running, let's say Tracy is the only one that runs, her group is going to just vote for Tracy. They're not going to vote for one of the other 3, and they have 2 votes. So that's how important it is for everybody to get involved and get voting and get your neighbor to vote for 2 of the 3 that we have on this side, just in case somebody runs, because they can overpower that by only voting for one.
I understand.
Because we're diluting our vote because we have to vote for 2, and then we're picking from 3.
Right.
So you have to be involved. That's
the reality of that, if you go back to the last council election, was that Bobak defeated his next closest candidate by 69 votes. And if there hadn't been 6 or 7 candidates, of which only a couple were genuinely viable,
there you go.
It was the same situation. He might not have been elected. But that's history. It's spilled milk. We are where we are, and we'll find out where it goes from here.
Well, Jay, thanks so much, man. This was
pleasure,
great.
sir.
Thanks for your service. Thanks for everything. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for being part of the team. We appreciate it very much, and we hope to have you back, and I'll be calling you about our show, our political show. All right. Thanks a lot. Jay Light, everybody. Big hand for Jay. Now we have a special guest coming on that's going to spend the next few minutes with us before we close shop today. Jay was awesome. Don't forget, folks, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio or Spotify or our app. You're going to recognize his face right here. Look at that. Tom Torgeson is here, everybody.
Hey, Ed.
It's like ending with the number 4 hitter. Ending the show right here. Sorry, dear. I didn't mean to make you the number 3 hitter, but Tom, what brings you to the show?
I think coming down to listen firsthand to Jay Light was, and I got to visit with him a little bit before the show, but that was kind of the impetus for walking down today.
Awesome.
It's usually spontaneous whenever I see you.
Right. Well, I understand you did some yoga last weekend too, right? How was that?
I did some yoga watching.
Oh, okay. I want to ask about the yoga watching.
I didn't jump into the pack, but we had a big yoga group at the house, Bayside, last Saturday. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
so,
they just had a great time.
Any update on the project?
It's just still a waiting game, and we think that the first case, the zoning procedural case, we'll probably hear sometime April, May, June from the judge. No, not April. Yeah, March, April, May, I would say. Probably May at the latest. And then the civil case on properly conforming with the comp plan, land development code, that'll probably be a trial sometime this summer, July, something like that. So it's just a waiting game.
Rough idea when the first shovel goes in the ground?
I think the year end this year. I'd say year end 19 that we're shoveling the ground.
Nice. So I didn't know that people didn't like when you had a plan for affordable housing. That was something I just learned this week.
Yes, I haven't heard that either.
So your plan, part of the plan is to build affordable housing off the island for employees, right?
Yes, it is. I haven't heard any pushback on it.
Well, I think that was part of the editorial that was discussed. So.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't read everything.
Right. Good thing, right?
Yeah, it is probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing for my marriage, too.
The other thing was, what's going on with the there's something there. I saw that Joanne brought up at the council meeting this week about the end of the bridge here and possibly changing how this traffic pattern works. You know anything about that?
I do. I've been brought along in the process, been in face-to-face meetings and brought along in the process because we're not only an affected property owner adjoining the intersection at the base of Matanzas Bridge, we have property that can contribute to vast improvements in that intersection, traffic flow, pedestrian flow, safety, and so on. So we've been a part of the process, and yes, we're excited.
How would it work? I mean, how would it be different?
It's you got to really put it up on the screen, but probably not now. It maybe looks a little complicated, but it's actually very intuitive. I think the county really listened, really put a terribly thoughtful exercise together in coming up with this proposal, and I feel that they've got the ability to perform financially and otherwise. I should probably keep my mouth shut, but I won't. Last summer, when the county was really at a point of really understanding the timing that it's either now or never, the Estero Road project really is planned out to the end of the south end of the island, and the only stretch that really isn't engineered and figured out is right here at the base of the bridge. And if they keep the project going and extend it to include the base of this bridge, it can go under the funding that's in place currently, and it can happen in the very near term. And so it's either now or never, and the county called a meeting with the affected property owners, which included the county, the town, and us, and Tracy Gore was a designee that the town brought to the meeting. I was a designee that TPI brought to the meeting, and the leaders of the county were there. The upper echelons of the staff, Larry Kiker was there, and it was an open slate discussion. This would date back to last summer. Just an open slate, can we work together? What are our goals? What are thoughts? What are ideas? And I got to tell you, and this is going to get into the campaign that's going to launch here the end of next week for the March election of town council, but Tracy just attacked everybody in that room, humiliated, just said she didn't want any part of these meetings going forward, and just it was appalling. It was embarrassing. It was appalling, the behavior, and she just shut down any possibility of the town's cooperation in resolving some improvement of any measurable degree here at the base of the bridge. So that ended the meeting. And
really? What? Now, did she explain why she didn't want to be part of it?
Absolutely not. No, nor were her attacks founded or substantiated. She just went on a rage. And fortunately, the council changed their designee for the town on the Estero Boulevard to Joanne Champ. And wow, what a difference a leader can make. A change of leadership, and we've got something in front of us that is not only exceptional in design, but it's something that can be funded. It's something that can happen in the near term. And I just feel that this election is just critical for this town. There's 2 seats that are up, Dennis Bovak, Tracy Gore, and in spite of their weak leaderships that's different for each one, the town has been moving forward. Contrary to, some of the things you read, it's not because of Tracy Gore. It's in spite of Tracy Gore. And I'll be out stomping for the 3 fantastic candidates that have put themselves forward to date. I'm not intimidated by Tracy or Dennis. And I wish others weren't. I wish others would come forward and share their experiences and share how they've been bullied and just share their experiences on what it's been like under this Gestapo kind of government that Tracy and Dennis impose on us. So there's Ray Murphy, there's Dan Ehlers, there's Rexanne Hossafras. All 3 have the fabric that would make this community proud, and any 2 of them would be just marvelous leaders to carry this town forward. I know this is very unusual for a business person to speak out so forcefully against Tracy and Dennis. I have no doubt that their egos will will get in the way, and they will launch their announcement to run for re-election. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So prepare for it and support Dan, Rexanne, Ray. Everybody get out to vote. This is the most critical election this island has seen ever since incorporation. And we're on the verge of greatness. We really are. We're on the verge of greatness, or we can continue under this intimidating, bullying, disrespectful form of government that we're all embarrassed about. We're just embarrassed. So how's that for you?
Hey,
did I speak my piece?
Yeah. So I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words, and that hardly ever. I think that was like the third time in my life that's happened. But when you're on a roll, you're on a roll. So what I was talking about before, Tom, was to Jay, as I regained my own composure here, was that.
Well, there's 2 800-pound elephants in the room, and let's just get it on the table.
Well,
I'm all about being, diplomatic and respectful and honorable in process. But when there's 2 800-pound elephants in the room, and people are not willing to step forward and ignore their existence, somebody's got to say something. And I've been in the rooms. I've been in these meetings. I've seen the behavior. I've seen how they shut out a cooperative effort with the state, with the county and other jurisdictions. I see how counterproductive it is and how it's hurting our community. I'm in the room. I'm in these meetings. I see it. And so I can directly speak to it. It's not a fabrication of my imagination. It's a true experience, and it's gone on too long, and it's time for change. And this March election is critical.
So there's a couple of things coming up as far as the election goes. There's the February 11th is a candidates night forum that the Women's Club is hosting that we're going to be moderating. It's also important for people to know. I was mentioning this to Jay, Tom, that people not only need to get out and vote, they need to be part of the election. They need to work for the candidates, and they need to realize that if they come up with one candidate only, that their side of the aisle is going to vote one candidate. They're not going to go one and then Dan. They're not going to go one and then Rexanne or one and Ray. They're going to vote one, and they're going to try and overpower, because we're voting for 2 of 3. So there could be a dilution of things that way, and that would suck. What we need to do is get 2 out of these 3 in to make sure that one of those 2 don't, or somebody else they pick, a paper candidate, that they don't get in.
And I think the character and the fabric of these 3 candidates, Dan and Rexanne and Ray, are as such that if in fact, as I really believe will happen, that Tracy and Dennis will announce here at the last minute and have their platform and their campaigns and their propaganda all lined up, that the fabric of the other 3 candidates is such that I really believe that they will put the community first and somehow figure out together what the best approach is to ensure that those 2 don't get reelected. I believe in them. I believe that they will do what's best in our community and make sure that Dennis and Tracy do not get reelected.
Tom, do you think if somebody runs, one of those 2 run, that one of the 3 candidates on our side drops out?
I think that's for them to decide, but their character is so stupendous, and their love for this town.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard to do that. But let's see what the final slate is. It's hard to predict, but let's see what the final slate is. They're very logical people. Gosh, I'm speaking of characteristics and skills that why wouldn't you want people like this representing on the town council? And any 2 of those would be so complimentary to Joanne and Anita and Butcher that the power of the 5 would be unbelievable. They don't all think alike by any means. I don't agree with everything Rexanne says, Dan says, or Ray says. But I can take I can take whatever I disagree with, the overwhelming amount of what I agree with, and support them. But the power of those 5, any 2 of the 3 candidates that I'm speaking of, and the 3 that are in place, would provide just unbelievable leadership for this community, quantum leap type of impact. Would fall in love with each other again. You'd greet each other on the street. The weight of the the negativism would vanish overnight if those two are not reelected. And I assure you of that outcome.
And the three that you mentioned are not disrespectful. Anita and Butcher and Joanne. I've never seen them disrespectful at a council meeting like I have.
Ever. I don't think you could go back over the last number of years of council videos and find anything stated disrespectfully by any of those three people. I agree.
So we're going to do yoga tomorrow?
I'm ready to do it right now.
All right. Tom Torgeson, everybody. Thanks so much for coming on, Tom. That was awesome. Appreciate Tom's like a drop-in guest here. He just drops in, and it's like an open invitation for Tom.
Wow, you guys were rocking and rolling.
That's going to be some tape that's going viral right there. You see me sit here with my mouth shut. How often do I not interrupt anybody?
Or your jaw dropping?
Yeah, he let it rip today, which was nice. I mean, we're in election season now.
It's good that he has a platform to speak his mind.
Dear, and you know what was great? Because I'm watching the screen, and you watch the numbers go up of the people that are watching when Tom comes on.
And
He's
now
like
they
a
all
ratings
just
bonanza.
went away.
It's like having Howard Stern on. It's like a ratings bonanza.
I don't think you should compare.
I'm not comparing him to Howard Stern. I'm just saying in different segments of society, you have different ratings bonanzas. Like Oprah. He's like the Oprah of Fort Myers Beach.
He's not getting any better for you.
Wow, I'm beside myself. But we still have. I don't even know what we were going to talk about, but.
We are out of time.
I know, but I did want to mention the Schoolhouse Rock is coming up. I can't not mention the Schoolhouse Rock, and we're going to be doing a pre-show from there's something going on the beach, everybody.
The firemen have left their chili on the stove, and they're out.
January 24th from 7 to 9 is Schoolhouse Rock, a big fundraiser, and we're going to be doing our show from 5:30 to 6:30 from the school. That'll be one of the first times I've ever gone out of the house after 5 o'clock in the evening and traveled outside of Gateway. I wonder what time I'm going to get to sleep then. It might be like I might not be in bed by 9:30.
I thought you were going to say it was the first time you'd been to a school.
It's been a long time since I've been to a school. It has been a
long time.
So that's coming up. We also have the Shrimp Festival coming up in March. Is it March?
March 9th and 10th.
That's right. I wrote it down for you today. And we also have, I forgot what the other, the Candidates Forum. They're coming to get us, dear. They're coming to take us away in white jackets, and that's the end of the show. But no, the Candidates Night Forum. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention before all the listeners and viewers are gone is that if you scroll down our Facebook page, there's a PAC that just got started to make sure that Dennis Boback and Tracy Gore do not get elected.
There's a PAC. PAC.
PAC. Well, there's a PAC and PACs. We're all making PACs together that they don't get elected. But there's a PAC, which, just so you know, I know you're not into politics, but it's a way to raise money to make sure they don't get elected. I know. Just joshing with you there, dear. So, do you want to do a Sunday night show from the barbecue in the back?
I may consider it.
Yeah. That got some big views last time. That was some.
We were rocking and rolling.
Yeah. We had a few rum and cokes that day.
You did, not
That's
me.
right. You never
I am
have
funny
any drinks.
with nothing.
That's right. I know. You're just funny and beautiful. Look at your sweater. Matches your hat.
Thank you.
By the way, folks, hats are on sale. $15.
I thought you said 18.
$18. We have mouse pads. We have T-shirts. We have hats. We have mugs. We're just rocking the merch, people. Rocking the merch here at Pete's Time Out on Fort Myers Beach. What a day this turned out to be. It's packed at Pete's Time Out,
I
got
to get this sweater off. It's way too warm. It's beautiful.
Yesterday
it's
was
sunny.
Gene's 92nd birthday, so come on down and wish him a happy birthday. He's like, wait a second.
He's objecting to that.
That was quite the show today. I'm going to have to decompress at home later.
All right,
dear. Nice. All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Make sure you pass that viral video on to your friends from Tom, and we'll see you all in 1 week. She's going to dance it out. Bye-bye, everybody. Dancing it out. Dancing it out.
Woohoo!